Not shaken. Hey, today's a good day and we're going all in. I'm going to talk to you about some things that have been on my mind recently. I typically always do that. And I've noticed this a lot when I look at individuals outside of me, and then it just kind of smacks me right in the face too, that whatever I decide to put energy into, whatever you decide to put energy into, whatever I focus on, whatever you focus on, you always get more of. You always get more of whatever you decide to focus on. That's what we're talking about today. And there's ways to kind of tip this, right? Because there's a very easy propensity to have negative thoughts kind of creep in when something happens, right? And this is why I've talked with my team. I've talked with a lot of people about this, about actually taking time every single day to just remind yourself of what you're grateful for. What is going on in your life, what happens day to day, because when you look back at these things or look at the past week, I've said this to a lot of people, is that no matter the level of suck that you have in any given day, you still can always find something good. I mean, I even look back to when my dad passed away, because I was just 16 when my dad passed. And I remember being at the funeral, and there was just, it was probably the roughest day of my life, right? It wasn't even, because everything finally sunk in. If you ever watch my origin story that we've got on the website, that there was a day when I actually found out that my dad had died, that I was ready to just bolt and never come back. And my uncle was there to actually just embrace me. I mean, he almost like literally caught me coming out of my home. You know, and I really believe that if it wasn't for him just being there, that I would have just kept going, because he caught me. I mean, I was on a fast pace, almost like kind of jogging outside the home, because it was just my mom, my brother, sister, and I. Horrible day. And there he is. He was just standing there and just like placed himself in front and just grabbed me, just embraced me. And I remember even the next day looking at that, right? Reflecting back on that day, because my mom had come back from the University of Iowa, where my dad was airlifted to because he had leukemia, and that's where he had his bone marrow transplant. Coming back that day, and it was just myself, my brother and sister that were there. And obviously my aunt and uncle, as I'm talking about too. But when my uncle grabbed me, I was reflecting on that the very next day. And I was so grateful for him just being there, for him being the one to just say, you know what, this sucks. And he was talking to me. He's like, you're the man now. You're the man in the house, but don't worry, you won't be doing it alone. I got you. And I look back at that the very next day, right? I'm only 16 years old, but I'm reflecting on when this shook down, and I'm just grateful for my uncle being there in the moment. And you can recognize these things even in the midst of the worst crap in your life. There will always be things for you to be grateful for. There will always be things for you to appreciate. There will always be things for you to be thankful for who you are now and what you already have. When you can get into those mindsets of just saying, you know what, there's a lot of stuff, because you'll start to realize as you start to look at what you're grateful for, that a lot of the things that have existed in your life are actually because of choices that maybe you have made, right? And there's previous episodes on this around, you know, I used to think that everything was within your control, you know, and it's all based on choices. But there's things like that, like my dad, that you just couldn't control. It was a genetic thing that happened at his birth, right? Chromosomes flip-flopped. There's nothing to do about that. No, even in the moments that you absolutely can't control, there will still be things that you can be grateful for because of other choices and decisions that you've made led up to that point, and other people that are around you, because you can always be thankful for who you are and what you already have. Even if you're looking back at things, because I see this with myself, right? I came out of a surgery last year, and there was this thing, I kept like pounding sweets. It's a thing that happens with, I found this out, I didn't even know it existed, but it was with with Anasetia that I came out of this and I crave sweets. After I came out of this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I pounded like cookies every single day, right, for 3 weeks straight. And then I'm like, well, wait a second here. What does that matter? Because I start thinking it's like there's this thing. It's like I never want to go back and be the overweight person that I was 9 years ago because I was big. I wasn't proud of myself with that. And I can look back and this is what I was thankful for in the moment. It's like, you know what? I had all this stuff and I maybe, if you want to look at it, even though I had some external circumstances influencing my brain chemistry and my taste buds, I could still look at myself and be thankful in the moment for who I am right now. And what I already have, because I already put in years worth of discipline. See, that tied me back to something that was a good choice of mine a while back. That's something I love about myself. Something that I could be proud of about myself, saying, look at everything that I've done. This is just a blip. Because it's still okay to be human. And then that shifted my focus back. Because this whole thing is about focus. What do you want in your life? And that's something that you'll have to ask yourself over and over and over again, because I don't feel like a lot of people do, right? We're just kind of coasting. We're just kind of going through, just reacting to things that happen around us. You may be really happy with where you're at right now, and that's awesome, right? You can be like, today's a good day. This year has been a good year. I really enjoyed this year. 2020, not so much. We all try to forget that one. It's a little bit of a joke, right, with what's going on and has happened in the country and around the world during all of that garbage. But generally speaking about yourself, you could still be happy in this moment and proud of yourself in this moment and happy with some things, yet you could still be coasting because you don't really have a direction to go towards. You don't have focus. So if you're only focusing on the right now, and everyone, you've heard these phrases, right? Live in the moment. Don't get too much caught up in the future, and what could be. While those are also true, you need to understand that you want an outcome for yourself. You may not necessarily know the how, right? But the focus that I'm talking about is focusing on what outcome you want. And the only way to do that, I'm going to tell you exactly how, is to allow yourself space. Mental space in your days, in your weeks, in your months, just to dream. One way that I've really been doing this over the last couple of weeks that I want to encourage you to also, to allow yourself to be able to have this mental freedom, this mental space, this ability to see what you're actually wanting in life and where you want to go, is I used to, in the mornings all the time, just pick up my phone, and that's where I would get all the news, because obviously I go on a lot of large media, global media. We're very active in the PR space, and I have to be kept abreast of what's shaking down. Like yesterday, there was a huge Spectrum outage, a huge internet provider outage that's affecting 82% of Spectrum customers across the United States. And I'm thinking it's like, that could be a cyber attack. It could be a DDoS attack. I might be going on media about this. And wouldn't you know it, this morning I get a text message about it saying, hey, if this thing ends up being this way, can you talk about it? I'm like, of course I can. I've already been reading about it. This was during the day yesterday. Where I used to catch up on all of these things was in the mornings. Because when I get up, I have my morning routine. I get up, I make breakfast, and then I would start to focus on this stuff. And that focus was only really for the day. Now, what has been amazingly freeing for me over the past 3 weeks is when I eat my breakfast, when I get up in the morning, I don't touch my devices. And oh my God, the mental clarity that this has created over the past 3 weeks to allow me to be able to focus on the end result, on the outcome that I want, has been incredible, because now that I've focused on the end outcome, the result that I want, the dream that I have, all of my actions during the day have just started to naturally line up, because my focus was where it needed to be. And you always get more of what you focus on. If there's something you want in a relationship, if there's something you want in a career, if there's something you want in business, if there's something that you want in life in general, Give yourself that space, because the only way that you can focus on what you actually want, or even figure out what you actually want, to allow yourself to dream, giving yourself the space to focus, is to actually create that space. It takes intention with your actions. So what can you do today? What can you start today to give yourself that space in order to focus on what you really want and go all in?